Kurinji Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
NEET, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
Kurinji Educational Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.in.
Hi students, with this we start new chapter, nuclei, numerical problems. Okay, right. In this class we will concentrate on example problems, right? So in this class we will finish all example problems. There are 7 example problems, but for all example problems already solutions given in our textbook. Okay, so I'll explain you problem after problem. You just focus. If you have any doubts, right, further we'll contact and we'll discuss. It's not a problem because solutions are clearly given in the textbook. Suppose for example here I need some information. That information I'll tell you orally, but if you want what is there, you can see the textbook. That's what I want to say. Okay, right. First example problem. Given the mass of iron nucleus as 55.85 U and A is, that is what, mass number 56. Find the number density, find the nuclear density. Find the nuclear density. Okay, right. See here. So first we are writing, that is what, MFE, that is what, mass of iron nucleus 55.85, right? And after that, U is equal to 9.27 into 10 to the power of minus 26 kg. So here U means atomic mass unit. Atomic mass unit. Okay, right. He is asking to find nuclear density. The formula, density is equal mass by volume. Mass by volume. Okay, right. So according to that formula, that is mass by volume, here, which is, this is what, mass by volume. So which is 9.27 into 10 to the power of minus 26 kg divided by 4 pi by 3. 4 pi by 3. 4 by 3 pi r cubed is the volume of a sphere. Volume of a sphere. So there it will be 4 pi by 3. 4 pi by 3 into 1.2 into 10 to the power of minus 15 whole cubed into 1 by 56, this value, that is what, 1 by 56. Okay, so here 1 U is equal to 9.27 into 10 to the power of minus 26 kg, and this is what, 55.85 55.85 U according to the question. Okay, right. And if you do this calculation, we will get it as 2.29 into 10 to the power of 17 kg per meter cubed. Kg per meter cubed. Okay, right. So the density of matter in neutron stars, here the density of matter in neutron stars. So neutron stars means what? Astrophysical object. Astrophysical object. Here the density of matter in neutron stars is comparable to this density, that is what, 2.29 into 10 to the power of 17 kg per meter cubed. This shows that matter in these objects matter in these objects has been compressed to such an extent that they resemble a big nucleus. They resemble a big nucleus. Okay. So we found nuclear density. Afterwards, he compared this with that nuclear density or density of neutron stars. Density of neutron stars, and he is saying that it is comparable. And he is also saying that in these objects, the mass has been, the matter has been compressed to such an extent that they resemble a big nucleus. Right. Next thing. Next problem. Calculate the energy equivalent of 1 gram of substance. You know the formula E is equal to mc square. From that formula you can convert. 1 gram means 10 to the power of minus 3 kg. It is c square. So it is totally 9 into 10 to the power of 13 joules. 9 into, if we do this mathematical process, 9 into 10 to the power of 13 joules. So if 1 gram of matter is converted into energy, you just see how much energy is releasing. So it is enormous amount of energy, 9 into 10 to the power of 13 joules. Next, third problem. Find the energy equivalent of 1 AMU, first in joules and then in million electron volt. Using this, express the mass defect of oxygen 16.8 in million electron volts per c square, MeV per c square. Right. You know this value, that is what 1 U is equal to 1.6605. 1.6605 into 10 to the power of minus 27. 10 to the power of minus 27 kg, kilogram. Right. Okay. Afterwards, you know, if you observe carefully, he is asking to find energy equivalent. Energy equivalent, right? So if you want to find energy equivalent, to convert this value into energy, you have to multiply with c square. That's, you know, E is equal to mc square, and find that the energy equivalent will be like this, right? So if you multiply this one with that is 3 into 10 to the power of 8 whole square, you will get this value, that is 1.4924 into 10 to the power of minus 10 joules. And if we convert this into million electron volts, it will be 931.5 million electron volts, right? That is what the answer in million electron volts. Or you can also say like this, this is what 1 U is equal to 931.5 million electron volt per c square, because by multiplying this with c square only we got this value, no? So if you take c square to this side, it divides this value. Next, for oxygen O16.8, you know, delta M is 0.13691 U. So to convert into this million electron volt per c square, you just multiply this value with 931.5 million electron volt. So this value with if you multiply this value with 931.5, you will get it as 127.5 million electron volt per c square. So what is we observed, and he is asking to express the mass defect of O16.8 in million electron volt per c square. This is what. So at last, what can we say? Some of the information. You know, the energy needed to separate O16.8 into its constituents is thus 127.5 million electron volt per c square. Yes, that itself is called as mass defect. Next, fourth problem. See here. Here, you know, the half-life of uranium-238-92, the half-life of uranium-238-92 undergoing alpha decay is 4.5 okay, 4.5 into 10 to the power of 9 years. 4.5 into 10 to the power of 9 years. What is the activity of 1 gram sample? What is the activity of 1 gram sample of uranium-238-92? Okay, right. So we need to find activity. He is asking to find activity, right? See this. So first we are writing the given value, that whatever they have given, that we are writing, but this we converted into seconds. You know very well, 1 year is equal to how many days, and 1 day is equal to how many hours, 1 hour is equal to how many seconds. So with that you can convert this into seconds, then this will be equal to 1.42. 1.42 into, right, 1.42 into, here if you do that, 1.42 into 10 to the power of 17 second. 1.42 into, see here, you know, t off is equal to 1.42 into 10 to the power of 17 seconds. Afterwards, you know, see here, that is what 1 kilo, 1 k, okay, whatever it may be the symbol, 1 k mole of any isotope contains, right, 1 k, sorry for this saying, 1 k mole of any isotope contains Avogadro's number of atoms, and so 1 gram of, right, 1 gram of uranium-238-92 contains, that is what, 1 by 238 into 10 to the power of minus 3, because it is in grams now, so we have to convert into kilograms. So 1 by 238 into 10 to the power of minus 3 k mole into 6.05 into 10 to the power of 26 atoms per k mole, right? That is what he is using symbol. You know, finally we are getting it as 25.3 into 10 to the power of 20 atoms. Okay, and the decay rate R is equal to lambda into n, and that you can write it as 0.693 divided by t of, that is half-life period, half-life into n, and you write down the values whatever we had, that is what t of value here, and 0.693 as it is, and whatever the n we have, that is 25.3 into 10 to the power of 20. Finally we are getting it as 1.23 into 10 to the power of 4 per second, that you can say that 1.23 into 10 to the power of 4 becquerel, okay, BQ, becquerel, right, is the name of the scientist. We are using as a unit for that is what, decay constant, okay, activity or decay rate. Okay, next problem. Tritium has a half-life of 12.5 years. Undergoing beta decay, what fraction of a sample of pure tritium will remain undecayed after 25 years? After 25 years. You know very well, half-life is 12.5 years, means after 12.5 years, whatever the source material is present, it became half. But the question is, what is the amount present after 25 years? So in first 12.5 years it becomes half, in next 12.5 years it becomes 1 by 4th, right? First it is like 1 will become 1 by 2. So whatever it may be, 1 kg means half kg. Half kg means here 1 by 4th kg. Suppose 1 gram means it is like 1 by 2 gram and it is 1 by 4th gram, right? So that's what I want to say. Here the answer will be, 1/4 of the sample of the initial pure tritium will remain undecayed. That only here I have written mathematically, right? So in first 12.5 years becomes half, and next 12.5 years becomes 1 by 4th. Okay, right. Next, see here. This one. Next, see here. Sixth problem. We are given the following atomic masses. That is what, uranium-238-92 is 238.05079 U. Next, He4 helium, and it is what, right, thorium. Okay, and this is what, right. So they have given for different, it is what, protactinium, and okay, so like that they have given H11, helium-42, He42 for all different atomic masses given. And what he is asking here, calculate the energy released during the alpha decay of uranium-238-92 is a one question like A, and B is show that uranium-238-92 cannot spontaneously emit a proton. Okay, that is what he is asking. Right. Next, Now we are going to see the solution. See here. You know, first we are going to talk about A and then we will talk about B. See here. A. The alpha decay of uranium 238 is given by, right? So in our theory we got it, right? That is what, you know, XAZ gives rise to YA minus 4 Z minus 2 plus HE42. That is what alpha decay. Okay, right? And you know, we can write it as the energy released. The energy released like this. It is what uranium, okay, thorium, and then it is helium. And they have given values now. That values we have to substitute here into C square. Then finally we will get it as 0.00456 U into C square. That will be 4.25 million electron volt. 4.25 million electron volt. That is the answer, right? So this is for A. So it is the energy released during the alpha decay of uranium 238-92. Next B. See here. So in B he is saying that show that uranium 238-92 cannot spontaneously emit a proton. Suppose if it emits a proton, means the decay process would be. So what is the decay process? As simple as such, you can write uranium 238-92 gives rise to protactinium 237-91 plus H11. Okay. So here, you know, the Q value for this process to happen is, so Q value means what ma? The energy released. So you can write like this, Mu minus MPa minus Mh into C square, and substitute the values what we have here in these places. Then mathematically we will get it as minus 0.00825 U into C square, and if you convert into million electron volt, you know, it is minus 7.68 million electron volt. Okay. Thus the energy, that is what Q. Thus the Q of the process is negative, and therefore it cannot proceed spontaneously. So what can we say? We will have to supply an energy of 7.68 million electron volts to uranium 238-92 nucleus to make it emit a proton. So by assuming a proton, we had this value. Then finally by having, so this much amount of energy, right? So this much amount of energy we have to supply to emit a proton, or to emit a proton, that is to uranium 238-92 nucleus, right? Next problem, see here, it is what seventh example problem. They have given 3 questions, right? And these 3 questions are giving a lot of logical information and valuable information also, right? So here questions are written and answers I will tell you. First A, then B, then C. Okay, right. See here. First question is, are the equations of nuclear reaction balanced in the sense of a chemical equation? Is or not? If not, in what sense are they balanced on both the sides, right? You know, in question A, what he is asking is, you know, how to balance the chemical reaction we know, right? We are also balancing nuclear reactions, right? So what is the difference? So in the sense of a chemical reaction, can we balance the nuclear reactions? If not, in what sense are they balanced on both the sides? So balancing of chemical reaction and balancing of nuclear reaction. Okay, right. Listen carefully, ma. A chemical equation is balanced in the sense of that is, the number of atoms of each element is the same on both the sides of the equation. So while balancing a chemical equation, we are saying the number of atoms, right? And we also say that a chemical equation or chemical reaction purely changes the original combinations of atoms, whereas in a nuclear reaction, elements may be transmuted because of changing mass number and atomic number. You know, therefore the number of atoms of each element is not necessarily conserved in a nuclear reaction. That is the point. And anyhow, the number of protons and the number of neutrons are both separately conserved in case of nuclear reaction, or separately conserved in case of nuclear reaction. So that finally what can we say? In nuclear reactions, the number of protons and the number of neutrons are the same on the two sides of the equation. On the two sides of the equation. That he is asking, and the answer for this is, the number of, right, in a nuclear reactions, the number of protons and the number of neutrons are the same on the two sides of the equation. Okay, right. Next, B. If both the number of protons and the number of neutrons are conserved in each nuclear reaction, in what way is mass converted into energy in a nuclear reactions? If both the number of protons, right, and the number of neutrons are conserved in each nuclear reaction, in what way is mass converted into energy in a nuclear reaction? Okay, right. The answer will be, see here, ma. The binding, what is binding energy, we know, ma. So the binding energy of a nucleus gives a negative contribution to the mass of nucleus. That is what we are calling it as mass defect. Now, because of proton number and neutron number are conserved in a nuclear reaction, the total rest mass of neutrons and protons is the same on either side of the reaction. Is the same on either side of a reaction. But what about the total binding energy? The total binding energy of a nuclei on the left hand side need not to be the same as that on the right hand side. Okay. So here what he is saying, ma, the total right hand side and left hand side. So whatever is there, that binding energy of nuclei on the left side need not to be the same as that on the right hand side. Okay. So the difference between these, the difference in these binding energies appears as energy released or absorbed in a nuclear reaction, right? Since binding energy contributes to mass, we say that the difference in the total mass of nuclei on the two sides get converted into energy, or that is what vice versa. So in this sense, a nuclear reaction is an example of mass energy interconversion, right? So in a nuclear, what he is saying, I am saying in simple words, ma. In a nuclear reaction, left hand side, right hand side, the difference in the mass of the left hand side and right hand side, that is what we are calling it as mass defect, which is going to converting in the form of energy, right? Here it is satisfying, that is what mass converted into energy in case of nuclear reaction. Okay, right. Next, C. A general impression exists that mass energy interconversion takes place only in nuclear reaction and never in chemical reaction. This is strictly speaking incorrect. Okay, explain. So we have to explain how that is incorrect. Okay, right. See this. From the point of view of mass energy interconversion, a chemical reaction is similar to a nuclear reaction in principle. Okay, that is what conversion of mass and energy. The energy released or absorbed in a chemical reaction can be traced to the difference in chemical binding energies of atoms and molecules on the two sides of a reaction. So whatever the energy released or absorbed in a chemical reaction can be traced to the difference in chemical binding energies of atoms and molecules on the two sides of a reaction. That's why, strictly speaking, chemical binding energy also gives a negative contribution to the total mass of an atom or molecule. Okay, we can equally well say that the difference in the total mass of atoms or molecules on the two sides of the chemical reaction gets converted into energy or vice versa. Okay, right. So anyhow, the mass defects involved in a chemical reaction are almost 1,000,000 times smaller than those in a nuclear reaction, right? So, this is the reason for the general impression that mass energy interconversion does not take place in a chemical reaction because of small, okay, right. So, this is all about example problems from nuclei chapter, okay. I already told you, so all these example problems are present in our textbook, right. So, when you are watching this class, you just keep the textbook with you, right, and you watch again and again, try to understand every example problem clearly, right. So, further if you have any doubts, you can approach to clarify, right. Thank you.